Peels a tear off straight away. Now then, watch Shaky. He got a lightning start first time out. And he gets another one. Wow, so too alongside him does Josh Brooks. And they're side by side down towards the first turn at Richards. Brooks desperate to get there in front of Shaky, and he does at last manage to do that, with Tommy Bridewell cutting through on the inside of James Ellison to hang on to that third place.
Yeah, James Ellison's out wide, and it's not where you want to be coming into Montreal, look. He's got shoved right out wide.
He has.
Yeah, and you just need to be cutting across back to the inside. If anything happens when you're out there, you're going to cop for it.
And he's lost out to Kianari. Keo's had a brilliant start, and he's bounded through to fourth place on the BMW, on the build-based BMW. Meanwhile, at the front, Brooks trying to hang on in front of Shaky. Shaky goes for that early apex to try and cut through. It got a bit tight on the exit. Oh, and it has got a bit tight for somebody.
Patrick Muff.
That thing that Patrick Muff, it made certainly one of the Batham's BMWs, and if it's the Swiss rider, it is.
Muff, yeah.
That's so unlucky after his fine 8th place in race 1.
I've never known a man happier and smilier on the grid, actually. That's probably going to dint the smile. But yeah, big eyesight, lucky to get away with that without much of a scratch, I think, with the way he was getting up. That is Patrick Muff.
So there'll be spectacled Swiss rider.
Go. Watch him master the power. Oh, yeah, that went pretty quick. The thing is, you know, the slower corners when you're eyesight, it goes quicker because it's in the lower gears, so it spins that rear tyre quicker.
And a problem for Westmoreland.
That's Westmoreland, yeah.
Westmoreland on the BMW is in trouble, and that looks like the end of a very brief 80th British Superbike race for the East Yorkshireman.
Yeah, and he was off in race 1, and I reckon that's a sort of a legacy of that race 1 off. Maybe a broken wire or something like that.
Meanwhile, at the front, Shaky's not at the front already. Yes, he is. And Tommy Bridewell has squeezed through to second place. So could it be that Brooks has made a mistake here and allowed those two through? Because as they climb the hill now, Shaky Byrne at the front. Tommy Bridewell, who tends to be stronger in the earlier part of the race and then somehow not quite as strong in the latter half. Can he hold on to this form throughout the race this time on the second lap of 16?
Yeah, Tommy Bridewell also is a rider who tends to thrive on a little bit of confidence, and I think that race of 4th place will have given him some confidence.
Look at Walker just cleaving his way through up on the inside.
Yeah,
and I was just looking to see which of it was Josh Waters who got forced completely off the track by that incident involving Patrick Muff, because Hopkins is there running a little bit brighter there in 7th place. He was the one who got squeezed out by Walker as they dropped into the final turn.
Yep, there's the American going through. There's Dan Linfoot, 2 places back in 9th.
So Byrne, Bridewell, Brooks, Kianari, Ellison, Hopkins are now passed by Walker. Da Costa running in 8th place after his mess-up. There is the Ducati Panigale, the Millsport Ducati of Kuba Smertz, running in 11th place with Richard Cooper.
Yeah, you would think that Kuba Smertz would have the pace to get past Cooper, although never underestimate the little Nottinghamshire lad.
He is an absolute flower. He's 8 stone dripping wet. Yeah. There's not a lot of weight on that Kawasaki.
I know, he's a kind of real smiley, soft lad, but he's quite determined when you put him on a bike.
Those are the 4 riders. If we had those guys contesting this race, we'd have a potential epic on our hands. But of course, Shaky Byrne is already rolling along. He was about half a second quicker on that lap than anybody else on the opening lap. So what a start, magic start. He's like he just throws a switch the way he's getting that Rapid Solicitors Kawasaki off the line.
Absolutely.
So number 67, Shaky Byrne, leads the way as they storm the hill to conclude the second lap. Ellison is just behind Kianari, a 7-time winner at this track. That's over twice as many. Well, no, actually, we've had a 4th race victory, of course, for Shaky Byrne. His 4th win here at Snetterton. His first taking place the first year he won the championship here in 2003. Walker, look at that now. Watch this.
Here we go. This is Shaky passing. Yeah, Brooks, and then Brooks. That's a mistake he made. You were dead right, weren't you?
And Bridewell was able to take advantage of that as well. So big mistake by Josh, and that just allowed, at least he didn't run off track. But now he's got Yuichi Kianari for company on the pretty fast BMW there right behind him.
Yeah, it's definitely fast in a straight line. Is the S1000 RR BMW, and it seems to have clicked with Keo. I just had a feeling that Keo, the man we're watching on screen now, might just have a rostrum in him, a podium around here. this weekend.
And starting from a healthier position on the grid, of course, gave him that little extra impetus as he started this race. And there he is running ahead of the two Kawasaki's, the two teammates, in fact, at Lloyd's British GB Moto. There is number 77, James Ellison, almost out breaking himself. Chris Walker does get a bit deep into the S's just behind him.
Yeah, it's a funny place, that is. You're coming off the end of a long straight, you brake, you're down through the box, but you can't get all your braking done in a straight line, so you've got to ease off the brakes as you tip it left and then hit them hard again as the bike comes over centre and then drops into the right. It's really weird. It's quite complex, sort of balancing speed against how much brake you can apply.
Julian Da Costa's got that beautiful, fabulously liveried Fireblade up into 7th place ahead of John Hopkins now. Linfoot 9th. Then we saw the battle between Cooper and Smertz there flashing through our screen. There's Julian Da Costa. What a ride. After slipping off right at the beginning of race 1, it looks like the 3-time world endurance champion from the south of France is making over. Here comes Josh Brooks, squeezing past his teammate, trying to make it stick this time because he doesn't want to let Shaky Byrne get out of his sight. The Australian back into 2nd place.
Yeah, that's it. I know both Brooks and Ellison were a little bit annoyed with not each other but themselves, you know, for getting embroiled in that little bit of a ding-dong for second and just allowing Shane Byrne the space to kind of control the race from the front. And I think that if either one of them would have had time behind Byrne early enough in the race, they would have been able to stay with him. I think it's difficult to kind of stop yourself racing, though. I mean, I'd be the least likely to stop passing somebody if I had the opportunity.
That was Mr. Hayden made the same remark earlier in the afternoon. It is easier to talk about it than actually accomplish it. You know, what's happening here is if Shaky Byrne is, every time he wins a race, he notches up 5 podium points. He's going to have a hefty lead if he goes on like this. Josh Brooks working hard on the brakes as they drop down into the chicane, still running in 2nd place ahead of teammate Tommy Bridewell. Yuichi Kianari, the 3rd of the red and white machines there, ahead of Ellison's green Kawasaki. Then it's Walker, Da Costa, Linfoot now ahead of Hopkins. Is just slipping backwards through the field. Dan Linfoot has now passed him on the Quattro Plat Kawasaki. Linfoot was bubbling on the grid. He's in a very happy frame of mind.
I don't know whether he was. I know Dan really well, and I just thought that he could have been a bit more, but he only started smiling when I said, "Are you enjoying it?" And he said, "Yes." I said, "Well, smile then." And then he kind of loosened up. But I'll tell you what.
Here comes Ellison, cutting past Kianari.
That nice clean move by James. I've got to say, it's not the best time. I make light of it on the grid because I'm not racing and I'm not nervous. But, you know, you've got to be careful. People in their own little build-up, their own little kind of world, as it were, there. They're ready to go and everybody's different. And you've got to be careful you don't have a big joke with somebody who's not in that mood.
Julian Da Costa's put in his fastest lap of the race. You can see that the Honda's closing the gap towards Chris Walker, who's lethally late on the brakes into the Montreal hairpin. But the Honda's on its way. Behind him, Linfoot just ahead of John Hopkins. Then it's the Cooper-Smertz duo with Barry Burrell now 12th ahead of Ian Hutchinson. And this is Da Costa really working hard on closing the gap. And he is succeeded in doing it. He's set his fastest lap of the race on the last lap. So did these two, because Hopkins obviously being towed along by Dan Linfoot, and the American closing the gap on the North Yorkshireman there.
West Yorkshire, I think. East Yorkshire, West, is it North?
No, North Yorkshire. He's a Weatherby Knaresborough.
No, but I was accosted by some Weatherby people who said we'd got it wrong, but somebody will tweet me and tell me.
North Yorkshire as far as I'm concerned. However, look, there is the man from the Czech Republic. He is now through into 10th place ahead of Cooper. And Stuart Easton is coming from way back. He's made up 10 places so far. Remember that his team boss, Paul Bird, said that I know he doesn't like it very much around here, so I just wanted to try and get up 2 8th place finishes would do. Well, at the moment, Stuart is through to 15th place, the reigning British Super Sport champion. And he's now he's ahead of Zanotti, Waters, Rutter. Josh Waters also making ground, of course, having been run off track by that major high side of Patrick Muffs earlier in the race. We're on the 6th lap of 16. New lap record, 1:47.985 by Josh Brooks on the Milwaukee Yamaha. Look at that.
I know. And you see how he went in the last 3 laps of race 1. if it's capable of doing that and not making mistakes, which he did a couple of times, and that's so easy to do. I'm no disrespect to him. So easy to make a mistake when you're pushing on, and you're kind of in uncharted territory, really, in that you're pushing out and going quicker than you have all weekend. So easy to push on and make a mistake, especially around this place. One corner leads onto another, like I've said, a little bit quick out of one, pushes you a little bit too quick into the next. See that one, you can't brake until your bike's straight up and down, and you can't do that until you've got the right line out of the corner before. It's a complex track, this now.
And look at this, Chris Walker has also made up big ground, and we've got the leader, Shaky Byrne, Brooks second, Bridewell third, Ellison, Chianari, Walker nailed together, and behind Walker now, that's Da Costa still coming on. And behind him, Linfoot leading Hopkins, Smertz now ahead of Cooper, Burrell in 12th. This is a fascinating scrap at the front, because we know how Shaky Byrne is capable of responding. He's a vastly experienced man, MotoGP, World Superbikes, British Superbikes. You would expect him to have something in his armoury to fend off the Australian here.
Yeah, but he's also the man who's won 4 out of the first 5 races of the championship, and you would think if it came to a last lap sort of brawl, he'd be the one who'd be thinking, championship-wise, I'm all right, I don't want to hurt myself here. But he never does that. He seems really prepared to stick his neck out and go for a win.
A new lap record. Josh Brooks running second there on the red, white and black Yamaha, 147.882. Just broken his own lap record.
He's got the pace. There's no question that Brooks has the pace.
Well, he said these top teams, what they're really good at, aren't they, James? It's just kind of tweaky little changes between races.
Yeah, but to do that, you need a rider who's giving you the feedback and is intelligent enough to know what he wants and exactly what's wrong with the bike and what's holding him up and where. And certainly both the leaders there, Shane Byrne and Josh Brooks, are exactly that kind of analytical, intelligent riders and mechanically thinking.
The Kawasaki, James, it has some surge out of the corners. Look, it drives off the apex.
Just be a bit careful, because when you watch a slow corner, you'll see that, Brooks wide there. Has it lost anything? Not much. Off the slower corners, it always closes that it looks like the gap's closed going in to mid-corner, then it stretches out going out. That's the sort of impression you get. But you're dead right, it does pull off the corners, I think, a little bit better than the Yamaha.
At the moment, then, we've got Kawasaki, Yamaha, Kawasaki running top 4. Chianari in 5th. Walker's Kawasaki in 6th is now only less than a 10th of a second ahead of Julian Da Costa on that fabulous Honda that you said dates back 20 years, James, the livery on that Honda. It is wonderful, and it was a production livery available on the Fireblades in 1994.
It was a 1994 standard colour. They nicknamed it the Urban Tiger, and it is now, because they didn't do that many of them, it is now the most sought-after colour for the people who are collecting what you call classic Fireblades. It's exactly that colour, beautiful.
And look at the pace of it. He launches himself past Chris Walker. So Julian Da Costa, the Frenchman's on fire through to 5th place now.
It wouldn't surprise me if Chris Walker hadn't actually had an original Urban Tiger Fireblade back in the day, actually.
He's probably recognised what he's just been overtaken by. Good Lord.
Yeah.
So, great ride then by number 86, the 32-year-old from Béziers in the south of France, former French Superbike champion and the 3-time and reigning World Endurance champion. Julian Da Costa proving his credentials on what he describes as a European-style circuit. Whoa, big mistake there by Chianari. He tries to follow his way through past Chris Walker as well. That didn't quite come off.
Yes, and I am being scolded on Twitter now. It would appear that it is North Yorkshire Weatherby. Sorry, Jack.
Thank you very much indeed. I'll accept your apologies in whatever form you wish to present them.
I'm the Yorkshireman, I should know that.
Shaky Byrne, Josh Brooks, Tommy Bridewell, James Ellison, and then this gang here, Julian Da Costa, Chris Walker, and a wheeling number 23, Yuichi Chianari, trying to keep up the run of success for Stuart Hickens' build-based team, and he does overtake at the end of the back straight, not entirely convincingly, but it is through, and Walker, despite his endeavours, can't fend him off. Behind them, great scrap going on between Dan Linfoot and John Hopkins. Meanwhile, at the front, here is... Oh, this could be the move. It is. Josh Brooks cuts round inside the final turn and then moves across to try and fend off the Kawasaki. He just knows might leather past him up the hill. They howl across the line now, half a bike length in it, into Ritchie's, and back goes the Kawasaki to the front.
Yeah, that was helped by a little bit of slipstream, also helped by the fact that Josh Brooks didn't have the ideal line to come out of Murray's, and that cost him a little bit of time. Oh, look at this, Jack. It's brilliant. This is fantastic. He just
carves his way straight back to the front. He knows it might affect his speed as they climb back out of the hairpin, but this time he's got the oomph to do it. Great ride then by Josh Brooks. Terrific dust-up with Shaky Byrne. And look at this. Bridewell's right there. Here comes Byrne again. I didn't think he'd be letting this go.
They've got to be careful now, because just a little bit of duking now they've done on that last lap and last few corners has allowed both Bridewell and Ellison to close them right up. They've got to be careful here.
We're on the 9th lap of 16, just past half distance here at the Snetterton 300 circuit in deepest Norfolk, just not really that far from Norwich. And here we have a terrific dust-up between the man from Sittingbourne in Kent, Shaky Byrne, 3-time champion. There's Josh Brooks, not yet British champion, but how much has the Australian from the outskirts of Sydney worked at it? Behind him is Thomas George Bridewell from down near Devizes in Wiltshire, and then right behind him, Cumbria's very own James Ellison from Kendal.
Yeah, that's a big mix.
It is a great mix, isn't it? And remember that Ellison's married to the lovely Texan lass, Sarah. So there's all sorts of different kind of... And also, of course, Petra, the lovely lady from the Czech Republic, is now Mrs. Shaky Byrne. It's a great mix.
Multicultural, Jack.
Extremely multicultural. And these four have completely escaped, because Julian da Costa, of course, had a long way to fight his way through the pack. He's made it through to 5th place, but he's almost 6 seconds off the leader at the moment as the Honda comes over the hill. And this is the battle at the front with Shaky Byrne wanting to make it 5 wins out of 6 and do the double here. He's back in front just by a couple of tenths of a second.
I'll tell you what, there's nothing wrong with the mid-corner speed of Josh Brooks and that Yamaha. Look, he's really, really, really quick mid-corner. Shane Byrne electing more for the sort of and then a late apex, cutting it back and squaring the corner off, and that's why he seems to be jumping out the corners a bit quicker.
Shaky Byrne's teammate Stuart Easton is in a convoy with Josh Waters as they motor their way through the pack now. The double Australian champion right behind him on the Tyco Suzuki. They're now in 14th and 15th places, trying to hunt down Ian Hutchinson. Meanwhile, talking about hunting down, you've got the sight of Josh Brooks, and you just know that this man is full of wholehearted endeavour, and he is just looking for a way back past Shaky Byrne. He's trying to get the drive now onto the back straight.
He's got it as well. It was lovely, was that. The bike slid a little bit, the Milwaukee Yamaha, but not too much so that he had to close the throttle. He's in the slipstream. Is he looking for a way up the inside? No, not close enough this time.
On the 10th lap of 16 then, in another terrific contest at Snetterton in the 3rd round of the British Superbike Championship. We've been to Brands Indy in Kent, we've been to Alton Park in Cheshire, now Snetterton in Norfolk, and in a couple of weeks' time up in southern Scotland at Knockhill. And all the time getting racing like this.
If you get a chance, just watch the way that Shane Byrne goes into the corners and actually sits the bike up, gets it onto the sort of the firmer part of the tyre and gets the throttle up a lot more aggressively than Josh Brooks. Josh carries a little bit more mid-corner speed, and then but isn't able, because of that, to whack the throttle open as aggressively as Shane Byrne. You'll see that coming out of here, out of Montreal, actually. Shane Byrne goes in, then look there, sits it up, and off it goes.
And of course, Brooks, he first made his name, James, on a decade ago as a super sport racer. So, you know, like, corner speed has always been very much a part of his armoury. Yeah,
the less power you've got, the more corner speed you need to be carrying.
So as they break...
Your top 4, the Byrne, Brooks, Bridewell, Ellison, are all doing identical times now. There's nothing in it, but it's difficult to see how anybody well, nobody's going to make a break here, and I actually think that Brooks is pretty near his limit, just doing what he's doing. He's had a little bit of a go at passing Byrne. He's been successful in getting past and couldn't kind of hold it. What he needs to do now is be in front at the right time, and that's what he'll be working towards. He knows he ain't going to break away now.
This is a great contest, because these guys, they're driving round Snetterton 300 at just 0.5 of a second off the new lap record. So this is not hanging around, is it? At this late stage in the race, these guys are running as fast as they possibly can round here.
With worn tyres and all the rest of it, it's not bad, and it's very consistent at times, which you would expect when four riders are pushing each other like this.
The front two just beginning to get away a bit. Tommy Bridewell doing everything he can to hold on to them, and also for the prospect, of course, for the West Countryman to actually get himself a rostrum finish on the Milwaukee Yamaha. He hasn't managed one yet this year. And
I think that James Ellison will be just as keen to maintain his perfect record of third places in the championship so far.
I like the way he said, yes, it's not very good, is it?
He's good enough.
I think it's pretty decent myself.
I think Brooks for hit.
Brooks has got down. Josh, he was on the limit, and he crawls off the side. He really clouted himself there. Josh Brooks pressing hard to try and get that second race victory. That must have knocked the wind out of him.
Absolutely, and that is a proper winding. I know exactly how that feels, and that's a just what we're saying, Jack. Sometimes the high sides out of the slower corners are worse than the ones out of the fast corners, because going the fat watch asks for the power, asks for it, and then look at that. That's a winding. That's a proper winding.
That was also hard on the hip, wasn't it? That was a heavy landing on his pelvis. Josh Brooks then, the Australian, goes down hard and heavy, really forcing the issue there. Well, at least he's in one piece and walking.
Exactly.
As well, as we can see.
You got to say, God loves a tryer, and nobody tries harder than him.
So, well, that means that we're looking at the riders' scores and the current championship position, and that would carry a considerable distance. Shaky Byrne now surely free to take another victory. We'll move on to 145 points. Josh will be stuck on 85 points. James Ellison will move past him, of course, and could yet get second place here. Shaky Byrne leads the way. Right behind him, it's the battle now between Milwaukee Yamaha's Tommy Bridewell and the bright green Kawasaki of the Lloyd's British GB Motor Team. Here comes Ellison getting alongside the Yamaha on the long climb up towards Richards. As the track levels out, Tommy Bridewell hangs on to the advantage.
Yeah, now it takes on a little bit more meaning now. This is a dice for second. Here comes Ellison, having another look.
He could just keep his amazing record going and settle for third.
I'll tell you what, you can brake a yard later than what you should be doing and commit yourself up the inside and then have no way of stopping. It's so easy to go in too hard, and if there's somebody in your way when that happens and they don't know you're there, it's an accident. It's just so easy to get sucked in to them slower corners.
He's trying it again here as they dive. Beautiful shot of him. He's gone wide though at Agostini's, and through goes Tommy.
No better example. Thank you, James. That's exactly what I'm talking about, and that is literally 2 feet difference in braking point than what he's been doing every other lap, and that shoved him sort of 8 feet wide.
Walker's in trouble. The other Lloyd's British GB Moto Kawasaki rolls off with a haze of smoke coming out of it and a disconsolate shake of the head from the Nottinghamshireman. He pulls off track from 6th place behind Chianari and DaCosta. So Linfoot will benefit. He'll move to 6th in his on-running battle with John Hopkins, which he's still leading. Smirch will benefit by moving up to 8th place. Cooper to 9th. Burrell into the top 10. On the 14th of 16 laps, so 2 laps remain after this one as they go howling round the long right-hander, the 90-mile-an-hour right-hander at Corums. Tommy Bridewell still holds on.
Yeah, and this is just what Tommy Bridewell needs, a little bit of confidence. He's now dicing for, well, it looks like he's got, I don't want to say it, but I will, a fairly certain rostrum at least in this one.
It does. If he just stays on board and doesn't make the same mistake as his teammate, then he should be okay.
That's what I didn't want to say.
Come on, Thomas, you could do it. Tommy Bridewell. Bridewell, incidentally, sports a wonderful, very poetic tattoo on his right forearm that was done for him by Andrew Reid.
All right, yeah.
And when they were over for the Adelaide Awards, Tommy had come over to Northern Ireland and decided that he wanted that doing, and Andy was the man to do it. And the leader of the Superstock 600cc Championship was only too happy to oblige. I said to Tommy, was it painful? He said, you bet it was. Yes, you're all right for about the first hour and a half, and then you really struggle with it after that.
Yeah, well, I've seen quite a lot of Andy Reid's artwork, some of his tattoos, and he's a real artist. It's good stuff.
On the 15th lap of 16 then, this is the battle for runner-up slot ahead of Chianari, Da Costa, Linfoot, Hopkins, Smertz, Cooper, Hutchinson through into 10th place in his ongoing battle with Barry Burrell. He's got the better of the WD-40 men and pushed the FFX Yamaha through into 10th place. That's a good result for Hutchie round here. He was, you know, not a bit glum yesterday, but hopefully feeling a bit better about things today.
Yeah, this is a good run for Ian Hutchinson. And this is exactly what I needed. Just so lacking in confidence was the multiple TT win. I've got to say, it's sad to see him this weekend early on. Oh, and what?
No, this is. Is he going to do it? Yes, he is, but he runs a little bit deep now. Yamaha versus Kawasaki up the hill. Absolutely elbow to elbow. Ellison cuts across in front of the Yamaha. He needs to try and keep that on. Is he finally going to break his duck and move out of third place? He's now into second, into the final lap. Perfectly timed for the Cumbrian. If he can hold on to this, then it's finally a second rather than third place finish for the Lloyd's British GB Moto. Kawasaki runs a bit deep into Montreal, pulls it back.
Now Ellison just needs to be clean, but if he puts a clean lap together, I think he's possibly got this second place.
Shaky Burns running at the front. It looks as if it's going to be 5 wins out of 6 races for the man from Kent. Behind him, Ellison now stretching his legs in front of Tommy Bridewell. He's just got to get round the infield.
See, Ellison's trying hard, and this is it. Sometimes you think your man's right behind you, you're pushing on, you're doing everything you can. You could do it knowing now that he's pulled the second already on Bridewell, and I think he's done enough.
As he goes through Oggies there, if he can now get onto the back straight and not be in danger of being drafted, then that should seal that second place.
I think he has.
Yuichi Chianari, hopefully if that build-based BMW doesn't let him down as it did at Oulton Park, then he'll finally notch up a well-deserved 4th place, with Julian Da Costa bringing Honda back into the fray for this one-off wild card meeting until later in the season with a very fine 5th place.
Good 6 for Linfoot as well. One better than in race 1.
Excellent. 6th, 7th and 6th for Dan Linfoot. At the front, Shaky Byrne. Well, you can't better doing the double. We've seen Graham Gowland even do it already in the British Super Sport Championship, and it's going the way of Shaky Byrne, the 3-time champion here at Snetterton. He will score his 5th ever victory here in Norfolk as he wheelies up the hill and wins the second race of the day. Second place, finally, for James Ellison, ahead of Tommy Bridewell, who also finally nails his rostrum finish for the Milwaukee Yamaha team. As we watch Dan Linfoot storming up the hill, look at this. Linfoot, Hopkins and Cooper Smertz, who was setting his fastest laps of his race right at the end of the race there and almost snatching 7th or even 6th place. And look at this gang dropping through the final turn. This is Richard Cooper. Hutchie's in there. Josh Waters is in there. Barry Burrell's in there as they storm up the hill. And it's going to be Cooper just from Hopkins and did Hutchinson. What happened between Burrell? Snatched 11th place from right under Hutchie's nose. And behind them, as they crossed the line, there is number 5, Stuart Easton, 13th. Michael Rutter on the Batham's BMW, 14th. And up ahead of them is Shaky Byrne, race winner with an average speed, James, of 98.24 miles per hour. That's quite impressive.
And that's, yeah, it is when you consider that there's a couple of first gear corners around here.
Shane Byrne, the man with the blazing pale blue eyes, the laser eyes, looks like he's really taken some control of this championship at the moment. Paul Bird, Paul Bird Motorsport looks pretty. That's as happy as Birdie ever looks. Shane Muir looks even happier, bless him, philosophical over the loss of Josh Brooks late in that race. But at least he's got a 3rd place now from Tommy Bridewell, in whom he's got considerable faith. Shaky Byrne, modern wheelies. He's always been a bit of a stand-up wheelie specialist, and all the way down the Bentley straight, he carries the front wheel of the Kawasaki, and I think he's fairly pleased with that one.
You would be, would you?
And that means he's got 25 points already in podium points, James. And that's what I was trying to say earlier about the fact that if he carries on like this, come the end of the first 2/3 of the season, he's going to have a hearty lead to take in the last 3 rounds.
Yes, he is. Yeah.
MCE Insurance British Superbike Championship, Race 2, Snetterton, shaky.